Hey there, neighbors and naysayers. October 15th, 2025. I haven't done a video in a while. I know I say that all the time, but there hadn't been much to report because it's just been drought and more of the same as last year. Feeding hay on the sacrifice areas. Hoping from up here you could see through those trees and see sacrifice. But you really can't. We just haven't lost enough leaves yet. Been a weird fall here for drought. Lowest rainfall on record for August and I believe September too. We've had somewhere around 5, maybe 6 inches August, September, and October combined. We only had like 3/4 of an inch for August and somewhere 2 inches both September and October. So grass is starting to green up, look a little better, but for the most part, just not doing much, just sitting here green. And that's probably part and parcel with we just kind of quit grazing. And also we've got the organic matter to hold water and kind of sub-irrigate some things. So we've got some water. I guess quickly, working on a Miracle water today. These are our favorite waters for frost-free purposes. They're energy-free. This one has been leaking, and you can see the concrete's busted, which ain't great. And this is the second time we've replaced the concrete on this one. I don't know whether it's because we let it freeze or what, but I'm working on the float in there. It's been leaking, and I've been up here every day this week trying to figure out what's wrong. I think I finally diagnosed it. Now I lost it. Oh, there's a piece of plastic laying right here on the ground. And that was in the float, inside the pipe. So it's been in the pipe when we put the pipe in and has blowed up here at some point. I don't know whether that was it or not. Again, we're gonna have to wait another day and see, but we want this ball to be loose in there for freezing purpose. In fact, I wanted a little looser than that, and that's counterintuitive. You think you want that ball up tight so it don't freeze. You actually want it to move in there a little bit and keep it from freezing. So, and it needs to be down a little bit more because if there is any ice, it'll tend to push it up. But I think maybe I finally got this thing fixed. There's a weep hole on the back side, and you can see it's been leaking water for a long time. But anyway, I clicked on the video today mostly because October 23rd at John and Kathy Cavanaugh's Blackmore Farm. We're having a pasture walk at 6 o'clock. That's on Craigle Road outside of Wintersville. There'll be signs everywhere. I don't know the address off the top of my head. There'll be signs at State Route 43 for sure going into Wintersville, and there'll be signs on State Route 152 going in either way. If anybody's interested in coming. Topics include division fence, watering options, and a roundtable sort of discussion on things that we learned from 2 years of drought. And I just volunteered myself this morning to moderate that discussion. And so as I was thinking about what I was going to say, I said, well, it'd be a good topic for a video. So first thing, as we're thinking about drought, I guess my take home, 2 things. When you start counting on that rain 7 days out, 5 days out, 7 days out, 10 days out, when you start counting on that rain, when you start telling yourself maybe it'll be better, maybe we'll get some rain, that's when you need to start taking notice. That's when you need to say, uh-oh, something's not right. And that's when you really need to start taking account of what you got. You need to start looking at the forage at that point. What's ahead of you? What do you use? What do you not use? What do you save? And then the second one is when you start saying, well, I'm going to have to start feeding hay next week or 2 weeks or a month from now, probably best to start feeding hay right then, that moment. Start looking for that landing spot and where are you going to feed hay. I caused myself considerable stress and depression when it comes to making those decisions, and I really shouldn't. And really, it's not me. If I have to make a decision, I'll make the decision tomorrow. It's arm wrestling with Dad about it because he's more of the, oh well, we're going to get that rain in 7 days. No, it's not going to happen. Then the next thing is if you're if you're going to have a landing spot for hay and where you're going to feed, and I call it a landing spot because it's just where it's a place to get off, place to stop. Realize that, yeah, it sucks. You got to feed hay, and you got to feed hay during a typical time when it's growing, but things aren't growing, so you got to do it. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to ruin your pastures by overgrazing them because it's supposed to be growing and it's not. That's not a good plan either. And the next thing is, my mind always says, well, what if it does rain in the end of 7 days? Well, if it rains in 7 days, it's probably still not going to be any good. And even if it does rain enough, it's going to be 3 weeks to a month before it's really going to have an effect. And any amount of hay you feed during the summer is less hay you're going to have to feed in the winter in the end. I mean, it's like for like. There are people in this world that feed hay regularly the months of backwards, November, October, September, and some of August, or August, September, October, November, if you're wanting to do it that way. They do that on a purpose because it's better hay feeding weather then than it is in the winter. I'd much rather feed a bale of hay when it's dry than I would when it's wet. And there are people who do that on the regular so that they have stockpiled grass to graze through the winter that isn't as big a deal. Now, if you're on a spring calving schedule, the cows will eat more hay in that August, September, October, November time than they're going to eat in the other times, the November, December, January, February, March, April time. But it will all balance out because you'll grow as much stockpile and they'll eat less of that, so it'll be okay. It's going to be fine. And realizing that the other thing is, I'm always like, well, if I ruin a piece by overgrazing it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and then we get rain, or we've got rain, oh, that's going to be terrible. But no, it's really not, because you usually have enough summer grow left to either grow sorghum sudan and radishes and some sort of legume, or you have enough fall left that you can grow wheat, rye, oats, vetch, Austrian winter pea, something on that sacrifice area. If they really beat it up hard enough, you've got the ability to plant something else in there. So those are some of my things. The other thing I would say is, if you're going to pick a sacrifice area for a drought, pick a sacrifice area that you don't normally feed on in the winter, that you're not going to feed on in the winter, that's too wet to feed on in the winter, that's too far away to feed on in the winter, that's too steep to get to in the winter. Well, I don't care, whatever it is, we all have those places that we don't feed on. Do it. Feed on the place that you don't take the manure spreader. It's too small, it's too odd shaped, it's too whatever. Now, watch your waterways and don't feed hay in the creek and all those things, all the things that we talk about. I mean, we've got a waterway in this field, but luckily it's high enough that we don't worry about it. But pick out those areas that you wouldn't normally feed hay on, that would be difficult to feed hay on, and do that. Or pick out a crop field that's easy to replant, that's easy to plant sorghum sudan or oats or wheat or rye in. Either one, doesn't matter. And then I guess the last thing, and I may even do this in a 2-part video as I think about this today, but the last thing is water. You've got to, the worst thing you could do is sacrifice one area and then have to move because you ran out of water. So pick an area that you're going to have water. And I know that's not always 100%. Like this side of the road, we decided we were going to feed hay over here, and we knew if the well runs short, we were going to have to move them and have to go to a different. But same scenario there. I knew if I had to move in 2 or 3 weeks because the well was running dry, I could plant that to oats, wheat, rye, whatever, and get something out of it when the well came back in the late fall or spring. So don't worry about that too much, but be cognizant of where you got water, and where you're going to have water. And if you're in a situation where you have to haul water, then where you can get water to them. And I guess that brings on one more thing. There is no time like a drought to start thinking about water and what issues you have. We actually put an extra water line in last summer to connect 2 water systems together. As we've went through this one, we've talked now about bored under the road and putting in another water system, tying another water system together. We also got a well that needs to be put back in service. Those are all things that a drought will make you think about. And I've said a million times, there's nothing that'll make you hate yourself like hauling water. Don't get stuck in that rut where you have to haul water every day, because then you got nothing else, no time for anything else but hauling water. Figure out a way that you're going to get water. And And I'll be perfectly honest, drought has also brought us to a point here where we are more cognizant of how many animals we can hold and keep. We've got enough water that I know we could manage 25 cows, 25 steers, 30 ewes, 16 sows and their babies, and some finish hogs. I want, in the worst kind of way, to build a finish barn and finish hogs in it. But I know I can't do that until I can find another water source that will produce us an extra gallon a minute. We're not going to have enough at this point now. I don't never want to be in a situation where I got to haul water. So I'm going to have to figure out if I ever want to do that. And that's an economics thing too. Finished hogs aren't going to make me that much money in the short term, but in the long term it would make a heck of a difference if I can get them sold as pork. So I keep, it's in the back of my mind, but I know that if I do it, I've got to have an additional water source to be able to water them. So I'll keep thinking on this topic and what other things I want to add to the list. But those are my big ones. When you start counting on that rain out further, it's time. That's it. Don't stop counting on it and then realize you're in a drought. Don't think that the good times are never going to end. They are. And then secondly, when you think I got to feed hay in a week, 2 weeks, a month, it's probably time to start feeding hay right then. And you're not going to be sorry for it, because look around. I've got stockpiled grass now that I can use. If I had beat the tar out of this, I wouldn't have anything, and I wouldn't have anything to graze in the winter. It's all going to come back to you. It's just going to come back to you on the other end of things. And we need to make sure that we come back on the other end, because that will be what saves our forage in the long run. So, like I said, I'll keep thinking about this. Other things as we go along, maybe tonight, the other topic, and maybe this weekend, I guess. We're starting to look at soil sampling, what we're going to do, and some fertility applications, and how that affects our soil health. I want to do some research on that and what we need and what we can do, but I'll save that for later. That's a teaser topic. With that, I'll say we'll see you next time.